welcome to Men at the Movies, the YouTube channel. My name is Paul McDonald, and today Dustin Oprea and I are going to be talking about the movie Defiance. The movie is set in World War II and really centers around the Bielski brothers, these three men who really took in, protected, and led a group of Jews during World War II to keep them safe from the Germans. And in this scene that we're going to talk about, Daniel Craig's character Tuvia has become the leader of this group. That's his gifting. And we see as he's leading them away from the attack, he comes up against a marsh. He comes up against a dead end. And it was a powerful scene for me and for Dustin that I wanted to share it because it was a very visual scene. There's not a lot of talking. And so I'm going to play the clip and you'll hear Dustin and I talking about why this matters, when we felt this way. And I hope you enjoy it. And then Tuvia, he's the leader. That's his gifting, even though he sometimes, like us, gets taken to his knees by the burden of leading, of the consequences of decisions. He's at the end. They're running from the Germans. They come out of the forest in facing a bog, and he's got hundreds of people behind him. And he hears the gunfire. And he's sitting there, and everybody's, we need to go back. We should have been here. And these like just the voices, and he's paralyzed. And that's how I feel a lot of times. First, you're facing a decision. What decision? And as we lead our families, what decision do I make? And we put a lot of effort, a lot of prayer, a lot of thought into it. And then we make the decision, but then we're constantly evaluating. Did I make the right one? I related to that in a lot of ways of, I made this decision. I'm not sure it's the right one. And it's like, see, you screwed up. Here's, as you mentioned earlier, accepting God's acceptance of you despite the results.
But there's so much that goes into that in my mind when I put myself at him looking at the water, is do I lead these hundreds of people through the water with the risk of all that? Give it to me. Yeah. Or do we stay and fight and be captured? And he in fact hands a gun to the woman that he has started to really love and says, don't let them kill you. You take your life first. So he's already planning that out in his mind. However, something that I really appreciated in the moment, whether it was purposeful or not, was that he didn't have an immediate reaction. Like he sat in it and really paused around what was happening, which I find really, in the life that I live in. I mentioned 3 young boys, been married for 15 years, and it's very chaotic, but we live in a world we live in a whole world that's chaotic. Like, I don't need to drum up chaos in my own life to feel it. I can wake up and feel it. And so the aspect of pausing and saying, what is really happening right now, not only around me, but what am I sensing internally in my connection with God? And if I sit long enough, I can start to access, as the Apostle Paul talks about, my inmost being. I can actually understand a little bit more of what God is really wanting to happen in that moment. And the beautiful part about that scene is his younger brother, Asael. See, Tuvia, Daniel Craig, thought his younger brother, Asael, potentially could have just been killed by the Germans behind him. But he sees him come up, and he's so excited to see him. And I look at, the number 3 is pretty significant in biblical terms. It's 3 brothers. It's not like we can identify each one of them as standalone Jesus, standalone God the Father, or standalone the Holy Spirit. But in that moment, it seemed like Asael coming into the scene seemed like a bit like the Holy Spirit, and like leading Tuvia into all the truth. As Jesus talks about, I'm going to leave you the Holy Spirit that's going to lead you into all the truth and be able to do things greater than I. And he gives him the confidence, gives Tuvia the confidence. No, you're right. This is what we need to do. We need to move everyone forward and move the rescue forward. So it was a powerful moment in that regard that I really got attached to.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, we frequently get bombarded with the chaos, with the war. And a lot of times it's easy to look at the war outside as the problem, but we have that internal, the Civil War, as we were talking about before, of like Paul talks about in Romans 7. I do the things I don't want to do. I don't do the things I want to do. What am I going to do? And it's very easy to get paralyzed, and it's very easy to, respond in way, again, sort of furthering our brokenness. If you'd like more of the conversation that Dustin and I had around this movie, check out our podcast, Men at the Movies podcast, on Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our website. We have all kinds of other information where we sort of lay out what we talk about in the podcast, and even have questions to sort of dig deeper into the themes that we discover. So subscribe, share, do all the things, and we hope that you join us next time here on Men at the Movies, the YouTube channel.